So my university exams just ended.
You know the moment right after an exam where you're just like, I pity the examiner.
Sorry for the lack of uploads. This was my first exam since A-levels in 2020, so I made a lot of mistakes. Mistakes that I don't want you guys to repeat, as I'm well aware that a lot of you are still having exams. So bestie, here are mistakes to avoid during exams that will destroy your results.
Can I order a latte with 2 sugars?
Yeah.
Be sure to subscribe because next week I'll be giving away a free exam template that I designed for you guys. Let's start. First, not pre-planning your answers. I know you're like, Faye, I don't know the questions, so how do I prepare for the answers? Make it make sense. But the thing is, you can kind of predict the type of questions that will come out. Let's take chemistry as an example. You know when you're studying that they'll definitely ask you a question about balancing redox equations. So write down the steps to answering that type of question on a piece of paper or in Notion to save some time. Always look at the learning objectives to know what is important and what will be tested for each topic and lecture. Do this for all the popular or standard questions that they ask for every topic. As you're doing more and more past year papers, you can continuously refer to and add on to this sheet of paper, and then you'll slowly familiarize yourself with the steps for each question. Or, when you have an open book exam, you can just put these sheets of paper right in front of you. That way you don't have to panic flipping through your notebook trying to find the answers. This is wasting a lot of time too. You can see in my business law notes for short answer questions that I wrote down my answer skeleton, and if the exam needed me to define the meaning of person, I know exactly what to write. In biology, you can write down the keywords for C4 plant photosynthesis, or in law, you can write down the steps to determining if a contract was even made. In addition to writing down the steps to answering popular questions, write down all the formulas, even if you think they won't get used, and anything else you think is important that you need to remember for your exam. I almost didn't write down 2 gas equations because I didn't think they were important and I never used them in any of the past year papers. But my friend convinced me to write them down and I did, and they came out. So learn from my mistake. These cheat sheets literally saved my chemistry exam, and all my friends did the same. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because next week's video is about online exam hacks that your teacher would not want you to know. Next, not connecting your ideas after studying. I wish I had done this earlier, but 3 days before my law exam and 5 minutes after a mental breakdown, I realized that, hey, mind maps are kinda useful. Basically, after typing my notes at turbo speed the entire semester, I realized that I have all this information in my head, but none of it made sense. I didn't understand how the different concepts were linked to each other. I didn't know why we had to know all the different cases and statutes, or how to even answer the practice questions. If you have this problem, try making mind maps for every topic before your exam. So for law, I made mind maps for concepts I didn't understand and mind maps for topics that were important. For biology, if you find that lecture 10, which is about plants, is connected to lecture 32, which is also about photosynthesis in plants, link those together and add them into a single mind map. This will help you understand all that information so much more rather than having all your thoughts jumbled up here. Here you can see that I wrote down all the steps needed to determine if a contract is made and if it's enforceable. You literally feel like Albert Einstein after doing this. Ideally, I would do this for every topic, but I just didn't have the time, so I'm giving you guys a heads up. Next, an advertisement might play in the next few seconds, so if you want to support this channel, please do not skip the ads. Thank you. Not setting times. When you get your exam paper, immediately check how many questions there are. If you already know how many questions they'll ask, then write down on a sticky note how many questions you have to do and by what time. So let's just say your paper starts at 10 a.m. and it's a 1 hour long exam. If you have 40 questions, then you know you have to finish 20 questions by 10:30 a.m. If you're having an online exam, you can stick this onto your laptop if they allow you to keep track of time. I learned this the hard way and I documented it over on my Instagram. Basically, my chemistry exam had more than 50 questions instead of the usual 40 questions. So that meant that I had to severely rush to complete my paper and I didn't get to answer the last few questions properly. So please learn from my mistakes and time yourself. Check out my video on how to balance school with extracurricular activities for more time management tips here. Next, not skimming through the paper at the start. Whether it is in-person or online exams, do this. So, I was studying with my friend Nicole and she mentioned that she'll skim through the entire paper first, then write down short answers or short points, then only go back to the start and fully answering all the questions. I usually just answer as I go, and spoiler, Nicole is the superior human. Because she knew which questions were difficult and needed more time to answer since she skimmed through the entire paper, so she'll do those first. Second, she didn't really have to worry about finishing the entire paper because if she didn't, she'll still get marks from all the short answers and points that she'd written down at the beginning of the exam. I, on the other hand, was a clown and I'd spent my lovely time answering the first few questions, then had to speed run my way through the last few difficult questions that had the most points as well. So time yourself and spend the first 10 to 15 minutes going through your entire paper, writing down short answers and all the formulas that you might need because that can get you marks. Then do the hard questions with the most marks first. Next, not doing practice papers earlier. For most of us, we like to do practice papers or past year papers after studying everything. I totally understand that doing a past year paper when you're not ready might cause you to lose motivation to study because you don't know anything. But please, do 1 or 2 past year papers first, then redo them after completing revision. That way, you can get a rough idea on how questions will be asked and what topics are popular. I did my biology past year papers just 1 day before exam started and I realized that they did not ask about processes at all. This was terrible news to say the least because I spent my entire revision period memorizing processes when that's not what they even were gonna test us on. Doing past year papers first is especially useful if you're cramming because you can pinpoint exactly which topics are popular and study those first. Some of the questions in the past year papers literally came out for the final exam and I wished I had more time to revise them. Next, not recreating exam conditions during revision. A day or 2 before your exams, try studying alone or at the place you're going to take the exam. I did this for all my exams and it helped so much. After studying with my friends or in cafes for so long, I had trouble focusing when I was studying alone with no background noise. So I kinda had to train myself again to do papers alone like how I would be during exams. If you aren't going to snack during exams, then don't do it when you're doing past year papers. I knew I was going to do my exam paper in the library, so I booked the same room and did a practice paper in the same room the day before. If you've made it this far, comment down below if you're having online exams or in-person exams. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell and set it to all so that you do not miss out on any future uploads. Thank you guys for 539,000 subscribers, and I see you all in my next video next week. Bye bye!